back, RC Tankers. In today's video we're taking a look at the King Tiger, or Tiger 2. This RTR is available in 1/16 scale from Heng Long and arrives exactly as you see it, completely painted with a beautiful paint job and ready to run out of the box. We simply need to provide 6 AA batteries for the 2.4 GHz radio, and we can set about the process, which takes about an hour, of installing these cosmetic accessory parts. Before going into this step, we do recommend following the guide as prescribed on hobbysquawk.com and follow that guide there to conduct your 2-minute test drive before putting these parts on, just to verify that everything works. Now, what I really like about Heng Long's implementation of their King Tiger here is the very clear diagrams that shows us exactly where everything goes. There are a lot of small parts here. They're not difficult, but they do take a bit of time, and following the guide absolutely helps. Now, we don't recommend gluing on those road wheels. Leave the covers off just in case we needed to service the wheels in the future. Now we move on to the additional box of small goodies, small parts, and other types of accessories. Now notice that we're largely press fitting all of these parts on. That is what I tend to do with all of these tanks from Heng Long. If needed, a bit of ABS glue can help to reinforce a given joint and keep something secure. Parts that like to move, such as the shackles, I tend to leave unglued. Now we can set about the task of applying the tracks. These track links were arrayed on all 4 sides of many King Tigers and used not just for practical storage and transport of spare track links for the crew, but also as sort of ad hoc applique armor that enhance crew survivability in the incidence of taking a hit in that area. It's also one of the more noticeable features of many King Tigers. Now, these track links are functional. The nice thing about them is that, unlike some of the other models from Heng Long, these are functional, usable track links. So that means that they will assemble just like the real track on your tank. These use plastic sections, as we see here, that are then bifurcated with a steel pin. And that steel pin just simply slides in between these two and allows those 2 sections to pivot upon each other. You're essentially creating many hinges. And before we mount the track links, we'll obviously need track hangers, and so that's what these small parts are. These are small. In some instances I did end up gluing these just to make them a bit stronger because they were load bearing. Now, there are 2 track sections you notice intersected with a single steel pin. That gives us these sets. There are 8 sets in total, and to me really help tie in the look of this King Tiger. I selected the simpler of the 2 decal options of these press and stick vinyl decals. I'm really excited to get it out and start driving. Now, the King Tiger is one of the most fearsome weapons in World War II, mounted an 8.8 centimeter weapon, one of the largest fielded during the war. Rushed into deployment for Normandy, the King Tigers were a very formidable force. Luckily for us and the Allies, however, not enough of them were produced, and frankly speaking, because the King Tiger was just too heavy, it had a lot of issues with reliability in its engine system and its chassis system. I do love how the recoil shakes the track links, you notice there, and I prefer the lower setting for the track recoil. I believe that the higher track settings look unrealistic, but it's up to you. These are easily adjusted by the radio.
This is the 4.
Spinning some donuts on my King Tiger here. The proportional control allows good control throughout the range from slow movements as you see here to running around like a race car. When firing the 6mm airsoft BB system, please be mindful, while it is a low velocity and low accuracy weapon, it is still a projectile. Please watch out for eyes, children, and leave the neighborhood animals alone. I love watching that suspension roll. Size matters not, right? We'll save that debate for another day. In the meantime, we know how that war turned out. Today's focus is on the King Tiger. So we got this tank in from the field, cleaned it up just a little bit, enough to be able to put it back here in studio to talk a little more in depth about what we love about this tank and some things that anyone considering putting this in their depot should be mindful of. Right out of the gate, the Heng Long 1/16 scale King Tiger is one of their largest tanks and one of their better done, I think. It has so much detail potential from a modeler's perspective. It has the historical sort of mystique about it being such a fearsome weapon, at least on paper. They weren't unable to field more than 1,200 of these things by the end of the war, so unfortunately it didn't have as significant impact as they would have liked. And from a tanker's perspective, it is really, it's easy to use, it feels like a tank, nice and big, and has, from a practical standpoint, good ground clearance and very wide tracks. So you're able to transit and displace your weight over a wider surface area, which makes rolling through dirt, sand, and sort of light gravel much easier than, say, the tank such as a Sherman, as we see here, with its much narrower tracks. The paint application is also very well done on this tank. Even this molded line here I've really appreciated. And out of the box, it has a nice balance between feathered edges and some of that inconsistency, which was inherent on a tank painted at this point in the war. It has enough overall surface detail. I do really like, as we saw in the build video, our track. This is functional track. If you ever do split one, you can reuse it. So I like that. I like the detail of having them all on the turret, and a neat thing is that the recoil, at least in the second and third settings, are strong enough such that they sort of shake the tracks. It's an added visual element and identifier that your turret is firing. So it looks neat. Now, no tank is perfect, and the King Tiger is definitely one of those. Some things that I would be remiss if I did not mention in this summary is that the mold lines on some of these areas, they're not great. They are as good as I think they could be given the price point and the type of mold. However, this is something where if you're very persnickety, you may want to come in with some Mr. Surfacer 500 or sort of make that weld seem a bit more realistic. In fact, we're shooting an entire series where we take a King Tiger from start to finish, from out of the box, which looks again very nice, all the way towards fully customized, fully refinished, painted up, weathered, and accurized in certain areas. So check for the link in the description below if you want to follow that series and make your tank a bit more personalized. Something else I would let people know about now is these rear sort of fenders. They are flimsy, like the Tiger one. These pop off fairly frequently. If you're really concerned about it, I would probably just glue them in place. Another alternative is we could probably just drill a hole there and put some fishing line or something just to sort of hold them in place if you did want to have them bang around a bit but not fall completely out. Other than that, in summation, King Tiger, I mean, it is a King Tiger. Big, brutal looking, and imposing in every regard. Heng Long's version, I think, is highly recommended. This is the upgrade version, which is plastic all on the outside, and it uses steel gears, not zinc alloy, but steel gears on the internal gearbox. That gives us an extra level of security in terms of not burning out our gear sets. For those of you who really want to add another couple of pounds to this tank, to this already large and heavy tank, the professional version with its metal track and metal drive sprocket and idler wheel, I think it's worth the money if you're looking to just get something very big and heavy. However, be mindful that your battery life will suffer because you're lugging around a lot more weight. The final thing I'll say about this King Tiger to be mindful of, it really isn't a bad thing, but something to be mindful of, is that really long barrel. What makes the Sherman such a ideal beginner-friendly tank is that it's just smaller. It's easier to transport, and that barrel is not going to break on anything. We can put this in a backpack or a bag, put it in the trunk, and always have a tank ready to run. And that's a big advantage, I think, of a small tank. The King Tiger, big as it is, it becomes a bit of a transport concern. This is something that you're not going to want to put in a bag. You're always going to want to carry it with two hands. And for some, that's a bridge too far. For some, that's no big deal. So make your call. But in any case, let us know what you think in the comments. Is the King Tiger more your cup of tank? I'd love to hear it. Do you plan to keep your stock? Are you planning on upgrading or repainting or weathering your tank? Viewers who know me know I'm a big modeler and I love that type of stuff. So let us know in the comments what more you'd like to see from us. In the meantime, this is the Heng Long King Tiger, and we'll see you in the next video.